All right. To see. Right here. So this is law of cosines. We have a little mini assessment tomorrow. Once again, it's only a few questions. Just so we can kind of move on. So today we're just doing a quick little review. So our main goal is to just see each type of question, what it looks like. So then when you see it eventually tomorrow, you can, once again, you can use all your notes. So you can find something similar and go from there. Sorry, trying to copy off my computer screen. Let's see. All right. Oh, it's so glary. Hold on. Let me see if I turn the lights off of it. Oh, we can do that. That's not on bad. We still got some sunshine coming in. That's a little less of a glare for you guys at home. Okay, my friends. So when we look at this, the main goal for tomorrow is I can put the formulas back up for you. You should have them somewhere in your notebook. But you just need to know which version of the law of cosines to use. We had 3 versions, and it really was just based on what information that you had. So you base what version you choose off of what angle you're talking about. So since we're talking about having angle A, you just make sure you choose the version that has angle A. So it would be this one. C squared minus 2 times B times C times cosine. And once again, that's the reason I'm picking that, because it's the only one that has angle A included in it. So then I said to myself, okay, well, I have this formula. I'm just going to plug in what I know and then kind of see what I have to do from there. So I don't know side A. That's what I'm looking for. But I do know side B. I do know side C. And then once again, I put B and C in again. So it's just kind of reminding yourself where things go, but you can have the formulas right handy with you. And then we do times cosine, and we throw in angle A. So I said, okay, I can do that. Now remember, or just as a reminder, don't ever leave anything blank on an exam. Right? That's what, like, I can't help you if you leave something blank. Even if you do this, you're gonna get some credit. So do something, and I'll try to give you some points. But when you just do nothing, I can't really help you. So, these are worth like more points just because like I give you so much credit for doing each individual thing. So just do as much as you can. Anything is always better than nothing. These are kind of my favorite ones though, because there's actually the least amount of work involved. Because literally once you throw it into the equation, you just take this and put it in your calculator and see what that comes out to. Okay, so this one's nice because there's no rearranging like some of the other ones that we saw. So we're just, okay, well, let's plug it in. If you're in class, you can borrow a calculator or bring your own. If you're at home, there's that Desmos one that is, the link is on your Google Classroom. Sometimes this stuff gets annoying if you're trying to use like a phone calculator. So I do suggest using some sort of scientific one. Makes life a little bit easier. Why do I think I just did something wrong? This should be a minus. I'm sorry. Mrs. Sherman wrote it wrong and then put it in wrong. I knew I did something wrong because I did this problem last period. There we go. Nope, that's wrong too. What did I do? Gosh, what is happening with my life right now, guys? Hold on, let me just restart. Restart, Mrs. Sherman, 130, 26, 22. That's fine, okay. 22 squared plus 26 squared minus 2 times 22 times 26 times cosine of 130. That makes more sense. I don't know what the heck I did before. It's 1895.35-ish. So you can round a little bit, that's fine. And then remember, that's not your side. That would be a crazy side. That's a squared, so you would have to take the square root of both sides. And once I do that, that gives me my final side of about 43.5. And that would be yards. If you rounded it to 44, I'd give it to you. So if your rounding is a little bit different, as long as it's pretty much around that, that value, I would give it to you. So I would never take off from rounding at this point. So I'll do that up for a second, see if there's anything. Usually those are the ones I kind of, when I see those, I'm like, oh yeah. They're not, you just plug in and use a calculator. So that's nice. So I'll give you a second if you want to write that one down. Once again, tomorrow's will look pretty similar, just some different numbers, but the steps will be the same. So if you have something to go off of, that makes your life easier. Okay. Unfortunately, the next one, there's a little more work, just in the fact that we're given some information and we have to, like, when we plug it in, we have to rearrange a little bit. So we'll just go over those steps. How do you rearrange? How do you solve for what you need to solve for? But these should look very similar to the ones we were doing last week. Once again, once you see one, they're kind of all the same. It's just numbers are changing. So I'll kind of do it next to it because we have some room here. So I'm going to say, I know I'm completely in the way. A is 16 feet. I'll move in 1 second. B is 26 feet. And C is 23 feet. And I'm going to say find angle B. So with that information, we could actually find any angle. We could find A, B, or C. So just always pay attention to which one you're actually trying to find. In this case, we're finding angle B. So once again, I go back to my formulas and I say, well, I could really plug into any of them, but I want to focus on the one since I'm finding angle B that has angle B. So for now, I'm going to give it to you. Tomorrow, I'll kind of give you a list. So just make sure you can kind of choose from there. So once again, I'm choosing that one because we want angle B, and angle B is included in that formula. So you kind of always start the same way. You pick a formula, you plug into it. Okay, I can do that. In this case, I do know side B, that's 26. So I have 26 squared equals, and then that's 16 squared plus 23 squared minus 2 times 16 times 23. And then the issue is I don't know B. So I have this big long thing that I need to start rearranging to find what that B is. Okay, so I kind of do the same steps every time, right? If you look back at any of your problems from last week, they're all going to look the same. I say to myself, all right, I have this big long thing. I need to solve for this. I just remind myself this is kind of stuck together with multiplication. So I kind of just visually remind myself those are stuck with multiplication. So you can't just kind of start moving things. But these two things are kind of just chilling here. So I want to get rid of those first. So we call those constants. I move them by adding or subtracting. So since they're both positive, I'm going to subtract them. So if I have 16 squared, I can subtract 16 squared. And if I have 23 squared, I can subtract 23 squared. Okay, so once again, calculator is your friend. This has never worked. You would actually just do out on your own. Good. So I go over here and I say, okay, let's plug that in. 26 squared minus 16 squared minus, that's like the most awkward squared I've ever written, 23 squared. What do I get? Negative 109. Okay. And I said to myself, well, what else can I kind of do? Because I like to start to rewrite at this point. I don't want to keep rewriting a million times. And I said, okay, I have what's left in this kind of box. And these three things are being connected with multiplication. So let's just multiply those out just to kind of simplify it a little bit more. The big thing is don't forget about that negative sign. That's the thing. If you kind of forget about it, it does mess you up. So negative 2 times 16 times 23 is negative 736. Cosine B. Okay, so this is definitely looking better. So we moved a few things. We're kind of just simplifying things as we go. Our main goal was still to get this b by itself. So now we say, well, let's get rid of that negative 736. Since that's all multiplication, I'm going to divide. Okay, so I'm just going to use my calculator once again. Handy dandy will do the work for me. I got like 0.148. And remember, that's not my answer. That would be a small little angle. Couldn't think of the word. To find the angle, I'm going to do the inverse cosine of 0.148. And when I do that, I get about 81.5, I'll say. Once again, if you round a little differently, and you're around that, I would give it to you. Wait, that would be your final answer. That one. So we can see between 1 and 2, you know, there's a little bit more work involved. The steps are going to be the same every time though. So once again, have a good example or two. You should be able to follow them. Just be careful. The one thing I always notice with notebook quizzes, when you can, you know, use your notes on something, you start off the problem and then you look in your notebook and then you just start writing things in your notebook and things get all jumbled. So just be careful you're following the problem that you're doing. And then if you are using your notes, you're just using them as a reference. You're not actually rewriting them. So I'll give people a few seconds for that one. Ooh. It looks like it's only still 34 degrees. It looks, I think today's going to be in the 60s, but it's chilly in the morning. Oh yeah, it's going to be 61. At 2 o'clock today, guys, go outside after school. Feel lovely. All right, so let's look at our last problem. And our last problem is going to do with kind of solving for everything. So when I say solve the triangle, how do we do that? Well, we're going to start by using law of cosines. So everything on this kind of little mini assessment starts the same way. What law of cosines do I plug into? So let's see what we got. Model 3. So we're going to have angle A is 98 degrees. Side B is 20 meters. And side C is 17. And I'm going to say solve the triangle. And when I say solve the triangle, that means find everything. Find every side, every angle. If it's missing, we need it. Okay, so I kind of just start by saying like, well, what can I at least do now? So I have angle A, side B, side C. Always base what formula you pick off of your angle. So I see angle A, I'm going to choose the law of cosines that has angle A. So here's the actual version of it. A squared equals B squared plus C squared minus 2BC times cosine A. So I don't even know what I'm solving for yet. I just decided like I have to pick that one because that's the one where I have that angle. And I say, okay, well, what do I have? What am I finding? Well, I have angle A, so that's all set. I have side B, right there, and I have side C. So the only thing I don't have is side A. So let's start by finding that. So once again, I just based it off of the formula that I chose and what I didn't know. So we're going to plug in what we know. What's B? So that's 20 squared. 15 squared minus 2 times 20 times 17. Hopefully after a while you get sick of these. Getting sick of them means we've done enough that you can kind of do it on your own. Oh, these are the ones we like because when you do this one, you kind of just have to plug it into your calculator once everything is where it needs to be. So that's delightful. And let's see what we got. 20 squared plus 17 squared minus 2 times 20, 17 times cosine of 98. So I get some big old number. That comes out to 783 point something 64. And I take the square root of that. It's 27.99. I'm gonna round it to 28. And that's in meters. Okay, so that wasn't terrible. I always like those ones. You kind of just plug it in and you're done. So we have part of what we need, because we need everything. And then we say to ourselves, okay, well, that's good. So now I at least have all the sides, right? I have all the lowercase a, b, c. So I say, oh, crud, I need the other angles. So you have two options. So I'll show you both of them, then you can pick which one that you want, because it really is just a preference thing. The first options is you do law of cosines. Okay, we're familiar with that. We've done it a million times in the past 2 weeks. You just have to kind of focus on what you need. I need angle B and angle C. So let's say I want to find angle B first. If you want to find angle B, you're going to choose the correct law of cosines. Okay, C times cosine B. And you can plug into that. So I'm just going to do the first step, then I'll show you the other option, then we can kind of decide which one you'd like to do. So the nice thing on these is you do have options. Options are always nice. 20 squared equals, what do I got? A is now 28 plus 17 squared minus, too many numbers here. I'm going to be honest, I would actually not usually choose this option. I always hate this one where you have to do this and you have to rearrange everything. I always think it's kind of annoying. So let me show you option 2. This is option 1, my friends. So if you like that way and you want to continue with just law of cosines, go for it. The other option is you can actually use law of sines. If we go back to good old law of sines from back in the day, because now we have side A and angle A, and then you can do B over side B to find that. So you decide which way you like. So if I plugged this in, it would be 28 over sine of 98 equals 20 over sine B. So I'm going to be honest, if I have to choose between this way and this way, I'm choosing this way. I don't know why. I just always, I don't hate that way. It's just it's so much work sometimes. We'll get the same answer. So it's just a preference thing. You choose which option you like and you go with that option. I'm going to do law of sines though to find it, because I can just cross multiply. We got used to this previously. We did this first in this chapter, and then we started law of cosines. So when I cross multiply, and then I'm going to divide, because our main goal is to get that b by itself. Once again, it all comes down to kind of just what do you need to really plug into the calculator. I got 0.707. So I'm going to do the inverse sine of that. And I get my, look at that perfectly spaced oval there. What do I do? The inverse sine, just make sure you use sine. It's 45 degrees. Whew, what a beauty. Now, if you had gone back and you were like, I'm just going to do law of cosines, I'm just it's just in my brain, I'm doing it, you'll get the same answer. So it's just a preference thing. I just wanted to show you both ways. So you knew that you did have options when you do one of these where you're kind of solving for everything. So law of cosines is great if you have the info for it. But once you kind of set it up, once you have an angle and a side that are the same letter, A and A, you can use law of sines, so just as a heads up. So you can use either method because both of these are non-right triangles. If you can believe it, we are still not done. We have one more thing, right? We have all the sides, and then we have angle A, angle B. So let's find angle C, and then we're done. I'll just kind of do it down here. To find angle C, that one's easy, because once you know two angles, you could just subtract them from 180 degrees. So that's always nice. You don't need to go back and like redo any of that other stuff. And let's see what we get. Oops. We get 37 degrees. And now we are finally done. All that work. So my friends, that's kind of the idea of tomorrow. Are there going to be a lot of those solving for everything? No, I think there's one. I'll try to make it as I don't know, not torturous as possible. So just as a heads up on that. So basically everything we're doing tomorrow is law of cosines. If you're doing one where you're solving for everything, like for that second step, you can use law of sines. So that's just a preference thing. You can use law of cosines as well. And then you're just kind of doing your best. Go into tomorrow.